Here's a place where all of us can be safe. Our stories of transformation can be safe, and all the things we want to research are safe here. This is Safe Space with Cheyenne. I'm really excited you're here, and I hope you stick around for a while, because I've got a lot to show you before I leave Earth. I love you guys. Hello friends, welcome back. Today I have Saule. She is a quantum healer and transformational coach. She specializes in many things, including vocal healing, a course that I am actually really excited to dive into called Sing from Your Womb, 4-week feminine energy reclamation and womb healing workshop series. She also dives into one-on-one quantum healing coaching and transformation, and she has a course called Unlock the Authentic Voice. I was lucky enough to find her through Threads, so thank you, Threads, for connecting us. I put up a post about people having a spiritual awakening and not the love and light thing that's manufactured too much, but the real nitty-gritty awakening within yourself, the inner union coming in and asking to be put back together, the masculine, the feminine, the dark night of the soul, all of the inner work that goes in. And she graciously said that she would love to come on and share her story. So I would love to get into her work, but first I want to introduce her to all of you and hear how she got into the work that she's doing today. So thank you for coming on. I'm so happy to meet you.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. It's such an honor, and thank you to Threads for connecting us. And it's so cool that we can find each other in this digital age. And yeah, so I mean, just to share a little bit about my awakening journey, I'm gonna get really real with you guys for a second, because it was not cute awakening. So I love that you mentioned that you're looking for people to just really be honest about how it was. And where I was at was I was 18 years old. My whole life experienced really intense trauma with my parents, with my family. I emancipated myself at age 17. So my nervous system was in a perpetual state of fight or flight. I was very dissociated, very disconnected from my body, very promiscuous. I went to university in Spain for musical theater, and I was partying. I was being very messy. I was a little bit off the rails, and I wasn't giving myself the respect, the rest, the safety that I needed, and really disrespecting myself and my body, honestly. And ever since I was a little girl, I always had this kind of connection with the spiritual realm. I was very connected to like fairies and mermaids and ghosts and spirits, and music was always this thread that moved through my life very powerfully. And so when I was 18 years old and I was in university, I actually had this experience where I made a cup of tea in a mason jar, and you should never heat up glass jars, PSA, because this will happen where the bottom of the jar actually broke and fell out. So boiling water fell on my leg, and I had to go to the emergency room, and I had like a 2nd-degree burn. And then I wasn't able to do my dance exams because I was in musical theater training. I wasn't able to work. I was working as a dancer, and I had to take like 2 weeks out to just rest and lay and catch up on sleep. And that was actually really where my spiritual awakening really started, because in that time I was forced to sit with myself when I had been trying to run away from myself my entire life and running away from my own mind. So I randomly ended up going to see a Reiki healer in this town where I was living. And after the Reiki healing session, I noticed this profound change start to happen, where the wound on my leg started to heal very quickly. And I had a lot of emotions come up to be purged, and I felt a lot lighter, and I noticed this shift beginning to happen inside of myself. And I noticed that I was wanting to actually change my life and to get better and to stop running and start really taking care of myself. And from then on, I started going to like a nutritionist, and I started to meditate just for 10 minutes a day. And very quickly, it was like the meditation became something that I couldn't skip in my routine. It was like really necessary for me to manage my extreme anxiety and depression and PTSD that I had. And all these interesting synchronistic things started to happen, and my soul kind of started to come in and start tapping on the window and pulling me out and waking me up bit by bit. And about, 6, 8 months or so later, in the beginning of 2019, when I was 19 years old, I was just so aware of the deep trauma that I had inside of my body. It felt like this just wound, like this pussing wound that was like pouring out into everything, and I couldn't keep denying it anymore. So I decided I would start to go to a somatic therapist, go to a healer. And I went to a somatic therapist, and the results of it were changing my life immediately. Like, even in the first session, so much anxiety came up in my body and then was released. And I felt these really profound releases of this energy that had been so clenched in my body. And like, I had immune issues, I had, chronic stress, I had chronic inflammation in my joints. Like, I had like arthritis at age 19, which is very common symptoms of energy and trauma stuck in the body. And about, 6 months into working with this therapist and being very dedicated into my healing journey and my meditation journey, I had a radical awakening experience where I went into a meditation to meet my spirit guides. It was like a random YouTube meditation. I was like, I'll just try this and have some fun. And I was completely not expecting what happened in that meditation, where at one point in the meditation, I was guided to cross this bridge, and that on the other side, my spirit team, my soul family was waiting. And as I was crossing the bridge, I started crying, like bawling my eyes out of nowhere. And it was this really deep, visceral sense of, oh my God, there are these beings that miss me. Like, there's my family on the other side who misses me, who wants to see me again, who I've been disconnected from. And I hadn't even imagined that that was possible. I hadn't even considered that possibility. And so as I crossed the bridge in the meditation and I came into the space where I was meeting my spirit team, meeting my soul family, I had a really profound experience with connecting directly with what I now understand to be the Divine Mother, the Galactic Divine Mother, who appeared to me as just like these lines and forms, and not connected to any deity or any person even, or any form. It was just like this almost like light being. And I experienced that deep, profound, unconditional love and that reclamation of myself, and remembering who I am and where I come from. And all of these beings came around me and were supporting me and holding me in such a beautiful way that I felt like I had never experienced with my family on Earth and my parents on Earth. And it was just so beautiful, and I didn't want to go back. Like, I didn't want to go back to the physical world, but they were telling me, like, you have so much work to do, you have so much more to do here, and that they're always by my side. And I came out of this meditation, and I wrote like 3 pages in my journal all about my soul's origin, like this channeling from the Divine Mother. And rationally, I couldn't accept this. Like, I didn't understand what was happening or what this was. And I thought, oh, this is like, maybe this is some sci-fi novel I thought up or whatever. Um, but it was that in that moment that something in me profoundly shifted, and I was no longer afraid of death, for example, because I remembered and I understood that my soul had been reincarnated many, many, many times on different planets, on this planet, that I was truly a child of the Divine Mother. I wasn't a child of my birth parents. And that like really profoundly rewired my whole system, or feeling of like, I belong to something, I belong to someone. Because I think that we can feel like when we grow up with childhood trauma and difficult parents, it's like you almost feel like you're an orphan, even though you have your parents are alive, but you still feel like you're unclaimed, you're orphaned or something. And so that reconnection really brought me back to that profound divine love and that profound divine protection. And I invited them into my life to guide me, to protect me, to realign my timelines. And I then got really deep into researching and trying to figure out, what are star seeds? What are light beings? What are these different planetary beings? Because I was trying to understand like what it was that I had seen. And I would even go into deep meditation and ask my guides and be like, okay, if you're really here, I want to feel you physically. Like, give me a kiss on both of my cheeks. And I would feel like an energy, like a warmth coming in and touching my cheeks and being like, oh my God, like this is really happening. And I even spoke to my somatic therapist at the time, who was also, very spiritual and open, even though we didn't, talk about that as much. And she pretty much validated my experience and validated, what I was going through. And then my life just continued deeply and rapidly changing and expanding. I got into, tarot cards. I was gifted a tarot deck, and so I was doing readings. And a while after that, I also became certified in Reiki, and I began doing Reiki healings and healing on myself and healing on others. And then as 2020 began, it was like everything kicked up a notch, like 3 times faster. And in the lockdown, I was just totally immersed in my spiritual world. I was having these very intense Kundalini awakenings, past life memories coming through very strongly, and, astral journeying, traveling. It was like every single day I was working through 3 different past life timelines and we're processing these things in my body. And it was so intense, but it was like very much where I needed to be in that moment. And I was following this community. I think they're called Divine Self Embodiment now, and they actually really bridged me into the Christ consciousness frequencies, which I'm so grateful that I found that path instead of like maybe the more mainstream new age path, where people can actually really get tied up in a lot of illusion. And so connecting in with the true Christ frequency, and like I was raised Catholic and I had a whole rebellion against the Catholic Church. So anything like Jesus related, I was like, absolutely not. But then once I actually felt and connected and was bridged in this way, in this like deeply gentle, deeply loving, deeply unconditionally like warm, loving frequency with them, like with Jesus and Mother Mary, I like literally asked them to step in as my surrogate parents and to like adopt me energetically, and they did. So they stepped in and really helped me heal my inner child, and they've continued being my mentors on this journey throughout this whole time, and really helping me to anchor in the embodiment of the Christ consciousness frequency. And there's this really powerful book called Anne, the Grandmother of Jesus, which is a channeled book on the real story of Jesus, of Yeshua. And that felt to me like the most true thing that I could find around this topic. And it just went activating these memories, activating this remembrance of this frequency, and working with these guides. And my whole life has since then has been pretty much completely devoted to this. And there's been so many things that have happened, and my voice activated. I was given a new voice in 2022 and started using that gift, because that gift was given to me by God, and so obviously it has to be given back to God and used in that purpose. So the more that I've been purified, the more that I've been willing to sit with the really dark, deep, painful, traumatic aspects within myself and within humanity, within the collective, the more this light has been able to come into me and purify my spirit and purify my heart, and continues initiating me, and just gives the most beautiful experience of life that I could have.
What a beautiful story, truly. I mean, I know there's so many dark parts in it, but for you to work through them in ways that I can identify that I've worked with my own, from the somatic healing, the meditation, the connection with, otherworldly beings is what other people would call them. I love the guides. I love the moment where you were surrounded by everybody and you're like, look at all this love. Look at all this love that, I forgot about, right? Because I think awakening is a really big journey of remembering and unbinding all of the darkness that's around you and all the things that you weren't. And I love the truth about who you were before all of this happened, where, a lot of women, it's a common story. They don't know their worth. They're just kind of running around doing whatever they want to do, really living out of trauma unconsciously. And then when you go through this purification process, there isn't shame, there isn't guilt of any of these things that we've experienced, because at the end of the day, non-judgment wise, it is just a part of your experience to get to the light and the other side. I have Catholicism in my family as well. And my grandma did a really good job of just teaching us about the saints and Jesus. Mary, I will never understand the misuse of her story. I mean, I guess I do with the suppression of the divine feminine. But I just get so annoyed that that's still the rhetoric today, especially because the Catholic Church has rescinded that story and made her a saint. But I digress on that topic. I know there's so many similarities in your story where I know what it's like to find Christ consciousness for the first time. And I'm like, what is this? Because I do from the biblical aspect of Jesus Christ. And I never had a problem with Jesus Christ as the person. I had a problem with the rhetoric that they said that he was peddling. It went against even what he would say in the Bible. And it really does just come down to compassion, empathy, unconditional love for your fellow man, all of those wonderful things. So I'm curious, in your body and in your mind. So the first time you had the smaller awakening, besides the Kundalini in the hospital, do you remember what it felt like either in your head, in your third eye, in your heart space, and how you found the definitions for any of that? Because that feels like a small awakening and a small epiphany before you get to the bigger ones.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, everything kind of builds in an intensity, and I believe that our soul gives us what we can handle in that time and is preparing us for that. And for me, I remember, especially in my third eye started activating and opening, it would be a lot of intense headaches, a lot of intense migraines, and I would actually have very chronic migraines, especially in my crown and third eye, with sometimes the intensity of the frequencies coming in. And because I wasn't yet grounded into my body, and that's really where the womb work comes in, because I feel that the womb is the feminine root chakra, really. And when you feel your womb, you feel that space of the deepest grounding that you have. And that's really here to balance the intense opening of the crown and third eye that is very typical of, your spiritual awakening journey. And I find it sometimes a little bit, sad when people get caught in the mentality of I'm a star being, I don't like it here on earth. I want to go back to the higher dimensions, when truly there's so much to enjoy here, and there's so much beauty here. And when we actually ground into our root chakra, and this took me like 6 years of 6, 7 years of intense healing to even make it to the root itself, like the root chakra. Because I feel like for me, it started up here and then finally moved down, fully integrating into my body. And I'm still fully grounding down into that root. Because really, yeah, it's the whole human embodiment of our spirit into our body. And I've had, and I'm sure you've had, and people listening to this on awakening journeys as well, you get the ascension symptoms, you get the ascension sickness. Like, it's intense, it's uncomfortable, but really it's part of activating what we're here to be, which is like crystalline human beings. And it's great that we can remember being unserious, or being a mermaid, or being in this and that dimension, when really in this lifetime we're here to remember and to ground what it means to be on earth, and to be an awakened being on earth, and be building and physically engaging with this reality and creating. And this is where like the feminine womb space manifestation is very powerful, because this is the portal for us between the spirit world and the physical world. Like, we as women, like, we literally portal beings, like souls, into the physical body, which is amazing. It's crazy. And so we do the same with our businesses, with our creations, with our artwork, with our music, and with physically like building this new heaven on earth reality for ourselves. So I feel that this is a very kind of like forefront of the consciousness that we're meant to be stepping into now, especially with the divine feminine embodiment, and with humanity's embodiment of coming home to really who we are and who we're meant to be in this life.
You say so many wonderful things, and I had question after question, or follow-up after follow-up, but then you get into some of my favorite topics, which is inner union, the masculine and feminine in all of us, the awakening that everybody's talking about, because I know we all have different awakening stories, but the awakening, not only union with God, union within yourself, but the true one is realizing like what parts of the brain are these actually coming from. Like, creation comes from the feminine side. Logic comes from the masculine side, left and right hemispheres. So we're in a left brain dominated society for the most part. I mean, it is very masculine out there in the world. And what I've seen through not only my personal journey, but my work, is the feminine is rising. And it's rising in a lot of people, whether they realize that is what's coming into them. People are becoming more creative. They're becoming more compassionate. And I feel like the mother is finally getting her place, or reclaiming her place, one individual at a time. And I think the more that we do, like, whatever modality you want to choose, but I am a really big fan of somatic healing, because it really connects you with your body, slows you down, and gives you that inner reflection and connection that we're all really missing. But I know you identify with a lot of the things that I'm talking about, because I've not only looked over your work, but when it comes to vocal training and womb healing, that is deep, deep feminine work. And especially when you have a lot of trauma in that womb space, which I know a lot of women do, whether from past traumas or even just childbirth is a trauma on the womb. So I'm curious, what type of healing did you get into when you realized you needed to pull that energy from the top of your chakra system all the way down? Because I know when people wake up, it's all up here and they're very excited and blissful and thrilled. And then they're like, well, you got to get down to the root. And they're like, well, that's not any fun. So let's like guide some beginners back down into the root with the work that you've done.
Oh, yes. I love this question. And I love that you mentioned somatic healing. We're right there in the same wavelength with that. 'Cause it's I feel it is definitely one of the most essential parts of the healing journey is working with the body and allowing the body to viscerally and deeply release these like deep-seated emotions and deep-seated traumas on a cellular level, because our body is so much more multidimensional and incredible than we realize a lot of the time. It's like our body literally holds our ancestral memories, and we chose to be incarnated into this body with our, specific genetic makeup and ancestry, literally to rewrite and repattern the generational patterns and traumas of the lineage that we chose to come in to heal with. And so I would say, like, this is essential, the somatic work. And I have some free meditations as well on my YouTube channel. One of them that's specifically for womb healing, for going into and connecting with the womb space, because the womb can really also be accessed on a multidimensional level. And what's really fascinating with quantum healing is that with the quantum work that I do and I guide people with, it is you go in through a visualization and almost like mental process in a way, but then it works through the body. Then there's like actually a physical release. So often people will, experience after sessions or after an activation, like a physical purging and a instant shift in their body and nervous system, because the body is a quantum vessel. Like, it's so cool. And we forget this. And so any type of modality that you connect with that brings you into deeper body awareness, even dancing, like, ecstatic dance, or just letting your emotions move through the body, letting the energy move through your body. And the voice comes into this really powerfully, because the voice can really deeply help us to move this energy in a like exponential quantum way. Because when we combine the somatic practices, so even if you're doing, for example, like a rage release practice, which is really powerful for connecting with the root chakra, where you literally just have like a pillow in front of you and you beat up that pillow and you're yelling and screaming and allowing your anger to come through and pour through and manifest through you're actually, by doing this, you're protecting yourself and you're protecting your loved ones from being the unconscious like receiver of that anger, of that rage. Because there's a deep collective feminine rage that we have, of course, because of the thousands of years of systemic oppression and disconnection and, forced everything they forced on us and the patriarchal society. So it's like, baseline, we have to be moving this rage consistently, and we have to allow it to move out, because under the rage is the grief. And when we can be with the grief and be present with the grief and move through it, that's where, if you're brave enough, like that's when you move through that, that's where magic happens. That's where art comes from. And eventually when you're in your healing journey, you come to the place where you have moved through so profoundly that you transform into an artist. You transform everything that you've lived through into service, into like your podcast, into, writing or singing or sharing. And everyone has their unique modality and art form. And this process of creation is also so deep healing and validating for our experience. So you're so right that the divine feminine is rising. we are here, and now more than ever we need to be expressing our truth and setting the boundaries and speaking truthfully and reclaiming. And every time that we have those difficult conversations, those uncomfortable, honest moments that are needed to have in life, we are not only liberating ourselves, we're liberating the whole feminine collective. And like every time that we allow the emotion to move, that we allow ourselves to honor our rhythms and our sensuality and our body, and even just allowing pleasure without shame, we're really rewriting, recoding our collective feminine nervous system, because we are so deeply connected as women. And it's amazing. It blows my mind.
Everything you say, I'm just like, yes, 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 yes. I think you have a tremendous story. I think you're a tremendous guide. As I quoted all of the work that you're doing, is there any work that you would like to tell us about if people would like to work with you, where they can find you?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much. So I am hosting this 4-week course, Sing from Your Womb, starting on November 9th. And this is going to be 4 weeks of weekly deep, somatic healing, art therapy healing, vocal release transmissions and healing, and quantum realignments through sound bath sessions as well. So it's going to be workshops, and then a deep, almost like medicine journey with sound that will guide you into reclaiming the original points, the core root points where these, violations happen on your body, or where you were silenced, where you fell into a pattern of shame or guilt. Because this shame and guilt is deeply ancestral, and now is the time more than ever where we need to clear it, because we need to be creating, and this shame and guilt blocks us from our creative potential and our creative power, which really sits in our womb space. And so I'm so excited to share this with as many women as possible, and to bring us all in, because when we gather together, we amplify the frequency so powerfully for all of our sisters, for all of our daughters, for our mothers, and for our grandmothers, and every woman who came before us and is a part of our planet. So I'm so excited to share this. And also, if you would like to work in one-to-one mentorship, I love to work with people in this space. So I work with men and women in one-to-one mentorship and spiritual guidance sessions. And this is a series of deep quantum healing, trauma healing, and also rebuilding. So dissolving and rebuilding, and really aligning you with your soul purpose, so that you are going fully through your dark night of the soul, and then quantum leaping into creating the reality that you would like to live. So really stepping into your purpose, really downloading what your gifts are, and aligning your timeline to move into that. So if any of that aligns, I would love to connect with you guys. And I offer free intro calls for those interested in coaching. And I'm happy to hold space and connect with all of you.
I hear your love and I hear your passion through everything that you speak. And that's why, again, thank you, Threads, for connecting us. I know we're short on time today, but I would really love to have you come back in to do a focused episode on your work, your client testimonials, things that you've seen in the quantum, and just the overall, I would say, otherworldly experiences that you've had and can have with the work that you do. I think it is a integrative part of medicine that's been missing for a long time. I think people like you are very, very needed in the world that we have now and the world that's coming up. So please come back on whenever we can get it scheduled again, and let's dive deeper into your quantum healing work, because I am deeply fascinated, but I know you have to go, and so do I. So please come back.
Thank you so much. I would love to. I'm so honored and so grateful to connect with you. And thank you so much for creating this amazing space. And yeah, you as well. Keep doing what you're doing, because it's so important. And having these conversations is truly anchoring and changing the world. So thank you so much. And thank you so much to everyone listening. Keep going on your journey. You've got this. No matter how dark it seems sometimes, it's just love coming in and washing everything out.
Perfectly said. If you are interested in working with her, I will have all the links down below, and she will be back on soon to tell us more about her fascinating work and her union with God. Thank you again. We will see you on the next episode, my friends. Love you guys.